Welcome back, everybody, to another exciting week of the live stream here on Facebook slash LinkedIn slash YouTube slash Twitter. I'm your host, Kojo Sarfo, and this is the Late Night Show with Dr. Kojo. I missed the morning segment, so we're doing a late night show. I'm checking in from what was a rainy and cold day here in Los Angeles, California, but it was a good day and a productive day nonetheless. So as we get into it, I would love to know where you all are checking in from, and this is like a little blurb about me and we can get going. Hey, Lonnie, how you doing? I'm on slightly late, yeah, but I'm on, and I'm getting ready for the water break, as you can tell. Actually, let me go. We're good. Getting my water bottle ready. Leilani checking in from Tennessee. We have Shubham checking in from Vancouver, Canada in the house. Peg City. Okay, I'm not sure what Peg City is. Kingston, New York. We got Savage from Wisconsin. Okay. Alan, I'm doing good. How are you doing? Jemiah Bailey, how are you doing? Tracy, what's going on? This is actually live, so I'm actually talking to you live right now, Tracy. Right. I'm cheating. I'm definitely cheating. Pink Foam from Louisiana. Von Seal from Georgia, South Carolina House, Ohio. Yeah, my new water bottle. Yee. Yeah, let's get that in. Saratoga, New York. So upstate New York in the house. Winnipeg, we got Canada in the house. North Carolina, Amanda from New York. Dallas, we're shut down for. Oh man, I don't know what's up with the weather. Tracy, was cold out here today too. I don't know. It's been cold and icy all over. Hope everything gets better in Dallas soon. New Jersey in the house. San Antonio in the house. Just got my book. Signed my name. Don, thank you for being patient. I appreciate you. We had a lot of books to send out, so it took us a while, but I appreciate you. North Carolina, Michigan in the house. Go Blue. The 757 in the house. West Virginia, Pittsburgh, Long Beach, Tennessee, Wisconsin. Jenny, how are you doing? Illinois. Florida here. Watch all the Rockets launch from my patio. Are you in South Florida? Or you must be in South Florida, right? By Orlando? Belkingham, Washington, normally Greenville, but Claxton, Georgia. Bobby, welcome to the stream. British Columbia. Tracy, I appreciate you. Now, I remember signing your book, Tracy. I appreciate you from Hampton, Virginia. Cali in the house. Pennsylvania, Arizona, Winnipeg, I think. Wisconsin, northern Wisconsin, Space Coast, Cocoa Beach. I think that's like South Florida. Sandusky, Ohio, and Jenna Brooke is back on the stream. All right, thank you, everybody, for being on the stream. We're gonna be talking about Savannah in the house. What's good, Chris? Yeah, actually, hey, shout out to the Eagles. The Eagles made the Super Bowl. So congratulations, Kendra. I don't know if you're gonna have another baby now, because the Eagles, you have to have another son. But the Eagles and the Chiefs. So congrats. It's gonna be a good Super Bowl. I have to go through and do my analysis and see who I'm gonna pick. Right now, I'm leaning towards the Eagles, but we'll see who I pick in 2 weeks. I'm in Los Angeles, California, Sarah. So we're talking about how to stay sober today. I've received this question a lot from a lot of different people, and whenever I get the question, it's kind of specific. People will say, "How do I stop, opiates, or how do I stop drinking alcohol, or how do I stop marijuana, or whatever?" Like there are all these different substances, and the information here and the advice here is general, right? But keep in mind, depending on the substance, is gonna, it is different depending on the substance. If it's somebody who you've been addicted to alcohol for years and you're struggling with it, I would not recommend that you just stop drinking alcohol at home. I want to say that. You do need professional help for that. You do have to detox. Just depending on what's going on, you just can't really just quit the substance as it is. Now, if it's cannabis, that's a different thing, right? But just keep that in mind. Depending on whatever it is that you're trying to stay sober from, we always have to follow the advice from our doctors and our therapists, right? So this is not a substitute for medical information. I just wanted to say that. I made a note to myself to say that at the beginning of the stream, so I can say that. And Hope says, "This is me. I did a sober year 2020, and that was very tough. I'm doing another sober year this year too." So, all right, let's start off the stream with giving Hope a love of the show. So this is the first love of the show for the week. And then we have Jacqueline. Will have 7 years clean and sober in July. Congratulations. And isn't alcohol one of them? Yes, it is. Once your body becomes accustomed to alcohol and you need it to to function, for lack of a better term, you do have to. It's recommended to go to detox. And then you go to a facility and they use benzos. Use a medication called Librium, or I mean, they can use whatever they have based off the protocol there, but there's a system for alcohol withdrawals, right? So that's why I just wanted to say, if you're really struggling with, alcoholism and it's really it has a hold on you, you do need professional help for that. I was drunk for a decade, diagnosed 3 months ago, quit drinking a year ago, had a drink one night since starting medicine diagnosis, and it threw me directly into a 4-day severe low. Decided then and there I'll never touch a drink again. Those lows terrify me. So Jennifer, first of all, I want to say thank you for sharing. I really, really appreciate you. And it's really difficult, like when you quit any type of substance, like you may lose friends and you might isolate. It's really hard. Like for people who are quote unquote addicted to something, it's much easier for you to stay with that substance than it is for you to quit, right? But if you have more reasons to quit than to be on it, then at some point you're like, all right, I want to make a change. I have 6 years clean. Another love of the show. Alcohol withdrawals can right. Yeah. So I just want to make sure to put that out there. And I just took a shower, so my forehead's all sweaty. And also benzos too. So that's why with this last stream when I was preparing for, I'm like, this has got to be a nuanced conversation because with benzos, people who are coming off of Xanax and Klonopin, etc. Sometimes it takes people years under the supervision of a licensed medical professional to get off these substances. A lot of times they'll taper it like a little bit, and then they'll get you off of it. So that's why professional help, there's no substitute for it. Tracy's saying benzos for 15 years, and I think I died with my Xanax. My anxiety is so bad. Not sure if I'll ever be ready to detox. Maybe I can find some hope because all right. So Tracy, I do want to say this. So it's funny because when I was in school, and I'll get to the 3 tips in a second, but when I was in school, the way we were taught about benzos and things like that, whenever you have a patient come in for anxiety or whatever, we would never reach for the Xanax first. We would never go for the Klonopin first or the Valium. We'd always try like an antidepressant or something like that, or Vistaril, hydroxyzine, because we didn't want people to, we didn't want to start a habit by fixing one problem, right? But there are times when you do need benzos. There are times when people do need Xanax and Ativan and Valium and so on and so forth. So if you do need benzos, just like people who need stimulants for ADHD, don't let anybody shame you into saying, oh, you got to stop. Different strokes for different folks, right? So I just want to say that. Sober 9 years in March. We got right here 4 years in October. I'm trying to quit smoking weed, but it's so hard for me. Grandma and dad put 6 bowls trying to get a job. All right, we'll talk about this in a second, Kayla. Don't let me forget this. Not really lose friends. We lose people that don't want to succeed and change. Yeah, that's one way to look at it. I quit opiates without maintenance medication. Oh, wow. Okay. Well, Ross, and see, this is why there's so much nuance to this. You found something that worked for you, and you were okay. So I'm happy that you're good. And I, because of what I said in the stream earlier, people know that they have to find their own little way to, get over whatever is, ailing you. But I'm happy that you're good. Christine, congrats. I'll put this here in the meantime. Congrats, Felicia. Let me see. McLean. Congratulations. MC, I've never had a substance problem, but I have made positive changes in my life. And what's really helped me is choosing and changing my influences, allowing not just people, it's also things that can influence in a positive, negative way. I'm going to CrossFit school, listen to more. Christina, I appreciate you. You got to be proud of that. You really have to be proud of that, right? And the first tip, let me drop the first tip in here. The first tip for anybody who wants to, get off of a substance. So take, what's her name up top? take Kayla, right? So we can use Kayla for this example. She's trying to stop weed, right? So number one, you have to be your biggest cheerleader, right? You have to be your biggest cheerleader. It's gonna be very difficult. You say do cannabis, weed on a daily basis. It's gonna be really hard to stop, right? I don't think it's gonna be easy to just drop something that you've been doing every single day, or with a regular frequency, right? So you have to be your own biggest cheerleader. So let's say you said something like 6 bowls, or I'm not sure what you were doing, Caleb, but let's say you reduce your intake of cannabis or whatever by 25%. If you really want to stop, and each week you bring down a little bit, you have to give yourself credit, right? You have to be your own biggest cheerleader, right? You should literally celebrate. Let's say you smoke half of what you've been smoking for a week or two. You should go out with friends and celebrate that, right? And when you celebrate that, you're gonna be like, oh wow, this is cool. Yes, I'm still smoking or doing whatever I'm doing, but I made a positive change and I'm headed in the right direction. So I would say you should definitely celebrate that. You should definitely celebrate that. And of course, it would be helpful if, let's say, you have the what do they call it, like the dab stuff, or the bong, all that stuff, right? Maybe you may not want to put that in your room. Maybe put that in another room, or put it in the garage, right? Because if you have the materials that you use to smoke, right? Let's say you have papers and you have a grinder right there, by your nightstand, like it's right there. So what you're thinking about is, oh, I have to smoke today. I have to smoke tonight. So you make those small changes, but every step of the way, you have to give yourself credit. You've got to be your biggest cheerleader, because nobody's gonna celebrate you the way you'll celebrate yourself, right? So this is really important, and I think this is hard for us as adults, because sometimes we think that clapping for ourselves, whatever, like this is like kiddie stuff, but stuff is very important. You really, really have to be your biggest cheerleader. Let me see what Kay says. I'm almost 13 years sober, ADHD, PTSD, major depression. Used benzos and narcos for 12 years. Not for anxiety. I used benzo or hydroxyzine or CBD instead. My psych and I have found those work best for me. I'm so proud of you for 3 years sober. Even one day is a blessing. Congratulations, Katie. And see, you've been sober for 13 years, right? And you probably remember the exact day that you last used, and you remember how hard it was for you in the beginning. And right now, Katie, 13 years sober, you may have those urges every now and then, but you still have to be your own biggest cheerleader, and you have a streak going right now. So now you're like, all right, I got 13 years. I can't mess it up, right? But even if you do mess it up, I want to say, even if you do mess it up or you relapse, you have to be very intentional about celebrating your efforts to get back on track, right? Because if you relapse and you start to feel bad for yourself and you stay there, you might be there for longer than you want to be, Do normal people wake up the same way every day? People can't seriously wake up the same happy. For Melanie, I don't know what normal means. For lack of a better term, I guess you're using normal. But I don't think people wake up with the same mood every day. I don't think anybody wakes up. Like super happy every day. I know I don't. Like some days I wake up and I'm like, I want to stay in bed. So I'll watch some funny memes to try and stay in bed longer. And some days I wake up and I'm like, all right, like I have it. I'm ready to go today. Ross says, for me, the best thing was to distance myself from people who are using. That's smart. Surround myself with people who wanted to better themselves. Filled my life up with healthy activities such as riding my motorcycle. I have an amateur hockey league I play at. Go outdoors with my dog a lot. For me, when I say idle, that's when I start thinking bad thoughts. So we already gave Ross love of the show, but let me give Ross another love of the show, because I like everything that I'm reading right here. I have to give Ross another love of the show, because this is so key. When you're doing things, right, you're going out, you have an amateur hockey league that you're in, you're riding your motorcycle, you're going out with your dog. It's giving you a purpose. You're doing things, right? You have to get to practice on time so you can play with your hockey teammates. So because you have things to do, you don't have a lot of free time to sit at home and think about, dang, like ever since I stopped using this substance, I feel different, right? So it is good to get yourself busy. I like this a lot. And trying to quit nicotine. So listen for advice. Paige, I'm gonna give you a love of the show in advance, right? Just wanting to quit something, you're on the right step, right? And then of course you get the professional medical advice from your doctor, and then you come here for this on the live stream, and you surround yourself with people who want to see you win. all that stuff goes a long way. Let me see. Chiefs did, yeah, the Chiefs did it. You're right. The Chiefs did it. AA works if you work it. I agree. Meditation, diet, exercise all help, but some days I don't have enough spoons. Short-term relief is so oh yeah, oh, for sure. And also keep in mind with ADHD, I do want to say this real quick. Let me find a towel to my face is so yeah. Face is so sweaty. Put the lotion on it after taking a shower. Yeah, there we go. My forehead is much better now. So let me say this about ADHD real quick. I see a couple of ADHD stuff. So keep in mind, if you have ADHD, I saw a video online that said that people with ADHD have 100% relapse rate. And I don't know how to feel about that video, but I get what the guy was saying, right? If you have ADHD, there's a good chance that whatever routine you start, whatever job you start, whatever new direction you go in life, right? There's a good chance that you're gonna at some point stop it and lose track, and get off of the course that you were on. And that's ADHD, right? You do something for a while and you're like, I hate this routine or whatever, but I need it. And you may break, you may relapse, you may stop doing a certain thing. But that's why it's so important to encourage yourself. Even if you do, the goal shouldn't be to make sure you never, ever, ever, ever relapse, right? Now, we don't want you to relapse, but the goal should be whatever happens, you're going to support yourself and you're not going to judge yourself for whatever happens. And when you're kind to yourself, then should you make a mistake, then it's like, all right, cool. I made a mistake and now I'm back on track, right? But you don't want to be so, hard on yourself, right? I think we're too hard on ourselves as adults. Amanda, what did Amanda say up top? What did Amanda say up top? Man, repost again if you can see it. I've never been successful stopping smoking cigarettes, so hoping to get tips for the next time I might attempt to quit too. So Sarah, this can be difficult as well, right? Is just as difficult, right? But being kind to yourself, all that stuff matters. Surround yourself with the right people, and that's one of the upcoming tips. And of course we have professional help for this. We have medications. I remember, Wellbutrin is something that I used to prescribe a lot for my patients, and you could prescribe that for, smoking cessation. I think I did that for one person. I'm not saying that that's what you need to do, but I'm just saying that there's hope out there. You can go get help from your doctor, professional help. You can get help from your family. You can get help from your online family. You can get help from, your kids, your neighbors. You have to build a community and support system of people who really want you to win. Let me see. Let me drop the sec one in real quick. All right, okay, this is what I was talking about earlier. Number 2, you want to find one friend who's moving in the right direction. Or actually, let me say who's moving in your direction. I don't want to say right direction because depending on whatever it is, some people may choose to stick with a certain substance, and that's fine. But you may want to find a friend who's moving in your direction. This is really key because if like a lot of times when people, let's say you get friends together and you're going to drink or you're going to smoke or you're going to do whatever, right? A lot of times these are things that you can do in group settings, right? So when you have one guy or one girl who decides to say, all right, I'm done smoking cigarettes, I'm done smoking weed, I'm done with alcohol, I'm done with whatever, right? Then it becomes difficult for you to sometimes spend time with those people because they're still doing those things that you no longer do. So you may lose some friends or you may lose some acquaintances when you decide that you want to be sober, right? So I think it's helpful to find at least one friend moving in your direction, right? Because they're going to make you feel less like out of sorts. Because if this is new to you, you're going to be like, damn, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I don't feel like you won't feel like yourself in the beginning, I do believe, because sometimes the substance becomes a part of you almost like you smoke, we drink, that's just what we do, right? So it becomes very helpful when you have one person who is on that same path with you and they can help you. You have to be your own biggest cheerleader, but having that extra help from other people can go a long way. And let me see what Andrea says. I'm not missing. How can family members help? I feel helpless because there are so many lives and hopes gotten up. I'm a person who needs answers and I haven't found anything. So I don't know if you're the family member trying to help out somebody else or if you need help from the family, Andrea. But either way, you can let your family member know, all right, this is what I'm going through, and I really appreciate your help and support, as I go in this direction. And if you tell a family member that let's say you tell a family member that you no longer drink, right? Then someone who loves and cares for you, they're not gonna, come to you on your birthday and say, "Hey, I got you 3 bottles of tequila for your birthday," right? You just told them that you don't drink anymore, right? So they're gonna support you and they're gonna do things to help you on the path that you're on, right? So family is actually one of the biggest family members and people that know us like really well. That's like, I would say, if you have family that supports you, I would definitely lean to that, right? And sometimes we have some family that may enable certain behaviors, so you might have to get away from certain family members, not cut them off, but like, spend a little bit less time with them if they're doing things that you no longer want to do, if that makes sense. Yeah, Ross, and that's probably part of your success. I would argue that you're surrounding yourself with winners and people who are moving in that direction. Kay says, find something big to focus on, a purpose. For me, it's my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. That works for me. It may be something else that works for you. So, Katie, for me, it's the same exact thing. It is my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. And that's very helpful for me. But some people are, for my people out there who are not religious, I always want to find non-religious ways, because sometimes people just don't want to hear about religion. But those are my people too. Like, I have to advocate for everybody, right? But for me, this does work for me. Ross says the tropical nicotine gum worked really well for me. Tastes pretty. Oh, okay, okay. And see, this is why, like, I love the fact that there's so many different ways. There's like 50,000 ways to get sober, right? But there's one way to like relapse. That's interesting. Jennifer says, same. My son was 12 and begged me to just smoke because it made me scary. Oh, like when you tried to stop? Is that what you're saying, Jennifer? Is self-harm an addiction, or can it become? This is difficult. I don't want to give a lazy answer to this, but I think it's it depends on the person, right? Sometimes this could be something that people do compulsively, or sometimes people do it, as a cry for help. So to say an addiction, I'm not sure. But it could be something that it can be repeated behavior, if that makes sense. Good question. Josh Anthony, my doctor ignored. What do you mean your doctor ignored it? Let me see. I wouldn't necessarily say I wake up happy every day, but I try to wake up with a clean slate every day. All this sometimes is harder. Right. And that's why I don't think it's so. I don't think it's normal to wake up happy every single day, even if you don't have depressive episodes. But we have to take into account that sometimes people may have a depressive episode. Sometimes, like, people may have a short depressive episode that you may not catch. Sometimes it might be a long one that goes on for months, and then you hear from them after a while and you're like, oh, where have you been? Right. So that's why, and even some people in the middle of a depressive episode, Leilani, you may attest to this, but sometimes you can be in the middle of a depressive episode or a funk, and still when you go out to work or you go to school, you're still smiling because, like, that you have to smile. And when people ask you if you're fine or not, there's only one acceptable answer. You have to say, I'm fine, because when you're talking to somebody in passing, you don't have time to be like, oh, I'm going through all this. So you just be like, oh, yeah, I'm fine, right? So sometimes just because people are smiling doesn't mean that they're, that they woke up in a good mood. Let me see. I feel like ADHD symptoms have been masked by alcohol for so many years of drinking, or is sobriety making me this way? LOL, but sober for 2 years. My family is questioning me why I'm always late or not prepared for things I would normally have, or just scattered and more free-spirited. ADHD symptoms have been masked by alcohol for so many years of drinking, or sobriety this way. All right, so first of all, man, I don't know you, so I don't know the actual answer, but let me try and provide some value. So what do we know about people with ADHD? We know that sometimes, especially when you're undiagnosed, people with ADHD, there is literature that shows that sometimes with ADHD or undiagnosed ADHD, people may resort to substance use as a way to make themselves to cope, right? Like, you don't know what's going on. You feel like you're scatterbrained, you're all over the place. So you start to drink or you do whatever, right? And that makes you feel a little bit better. So with ADHD, that's why it's so important to get diagnosis in time, right? And that's why I make the videos about women with ADHD and so on and so forth, because women sometimes have to wait decades, not just years, decades. This is like 10 years at a time. Like, some of you'll have to wait so long for a diagnosis, and that's why it's important for us to, push the message forward. But a lot of times you could have ADHD symptoms, right, that weren't caught in time, and as a way to cope, you maybe turn to alcohol or another substance, right? So it's kind of like, I see what you're saying, like what came first, the chicken or the egg? But just know that, even though I don't know you personally, just know that sometimes people with ADHD do sometimes struggle, because before they're diagnosed and they can't make sense of things, without knowing it, you may resort to a substance. And then that's just what you do on Thursdays and Fridays and, Mondays after work, and then before you know it, it may become something that you rely on. So good question. And I'm happy I caught it. The questions be coming all over. So D says, I was diagnosed at 53. Wow. I was diagnosed at 52. All right. Okay. So all right. I'll get to the last tip in a second, but let me just do something because I'm curious. So if you're a woman with ADHD, or actually anybody who got diagnosed with ADHD, if you have ADHD right now, and you got diagnosed late in life, can you drop in the comment section how old you were when you got diagnosed? Because now I'm just I'm just curious. Sure, I'll put my age in. I think I was like 25, 26. Yeah, I think I was 25, right? So for me, I was 25. Rachel was 44. Wow. Manny says 37, hoping for an easy diagnosis. Wow. Wow. 53 from D. 52 from Melanie. Rachel, 44, and just got diagnosed 7 months ago. So that's either 43 or 44. Wow. Mickey Ficky. Wow. 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 Melissa says 35. And Melissa, I appreciate you. Kendra says 34. Christine says 28. Eric, 1 second. Aaron says 44. Not diagnosed, but I'm 37. All right, Amanda, let's just say you have it just for this experiment. 37. April says 39. Eric says 14. Okay, so Eric got early. Sarah says 17. Jacqueline says 18. Kelly says 57. I'll get back to Kelly's in a second. Jennifer says 38, 3 months ago. Wow. 22, 23. Man says 8. Wow. Wow. And it's funny because I don't see, or at least from people online, I don't see a lot of women commenting saying that they were diagnosed when they were in grade school. But when you were in grade school, that's absolutely the time that it should have been picked up, right? But we're only learning about this right now. 53, 19-ish, 27, 8. Okay, all right. So third grade for you, 39, not diagnosed, but suspecting it, 47, 22 in February, 58. Wow, 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 wow. And Jen says 5. So this is starting to make sense because, I know what the numbers say. The numbers say that sometimes women will have to wait until their mid to late 30s for diagnosis. But when I'm on the live stream and I see when I'm on a live stream and I'm seeing this feedback from you all, and people are saying 54 or 44 or 54 or 30, it really kind of puts things into perspective. Like, wow, we have a real problem. Wow, 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 wow. And let me get back to so look at this comment from Kelly. Kelly said 57 on meds now, life changing. So first of all, Kelly, I'm happy you got the diagnosis. I'm happy you're on meds now, and I'm happy that you're able to share your story, right? And this is important because think about the girl who is like 13 years old right now, right? And she's in school, so she's maybe like 8th grader or a freshman in high school. She's behind on schoolwork and she's scatterbrained and she's like struggling silently. And let's say she has ADHD, but she doesn't know, right? Let's say she's in 9th grade right now. We want to wait until she goes through, adulthood, right? Like you go through your 20s, your 30s, you finish school, you're probably married or whatever, but you've gone through life this way, never known that something could have been done to help you out, right? And then this also, in my opinion, happens to be the most treatable psychiatric condition, right? So it's like when you can't diagnose it in time, it's like a failure of the whole system, right? So I don't know. Wow, like I'm learning so much just being on the live stream because, like, I mean, it's one thing to read like a study online that says, "Oh, women have to wait many years." I get it. But then when I come out here and I'm talking to real people and then I'm getting the feedback, I'm like, wow, like this is like really, really, really real. And Christine says, I felt cheated in the way, honestly. And there's nothing wrong with feeling that way. And it sucks. Like it sucks for you and for everybody else who had to wait for so long, and that's why I think it's, if you're okay with sharing your story, and you've been through, X, Y, and Z, I think we kind of owe it. This is my opinion. I think we kind of owe it to the generation coming up behind us to talk about these things, right? So on Facebook or TikTok or Instagram, you talk about these things, and then you can hopefully find people who, maybe need to hear this, and then they can maybe tell their parents about it or tell their doctor about it and get the help that they need before you have to go through your whole life. And then sometimes you have all this regret, right? Let me look at Eric's. So Eric, once again, this is a bit different from. I'll answer it. How to stay sober. If you want to get off your ADHD meds, you have to talk to your doctor first. Whoever diagnosed you with ADHD and gave you those meds, you have to talk to them. And what they'll probably do is they'll probably cut the medication down a little bit until you're doing well without it. But there's nothing wrong with wanting to get off of ADHD meds. I've had patients in the past who have told me that they want to get off of meds, and some of them have got off of meds and they've been fine. And I would say that 90%. Yeah. 90% of the patients who came to me and wanted to get off of ADHD meds, and I took them off and they did well, 90% of them worked out regularly. So I'm not telling you what to do, but from that tells me that if you're able to work out, you don't have to lift heavy weights all the time, but if you can work out regularly, it helps out your ADHD anyway, and that could be helpful for people who want to get off of meds, right? But this is something that you should definitely do with your doctor. Instead of just stopping it, you want to talk to your doctor and try and get off of it over time. April says it was because of you went to mental professional and got a Oh, April, I appreciate you. Wow, thank you very much. And it makes me take this seriously. I've always taken my work online seriously. I don't take myself seriously. I like to goof off and dance and do my thing, but I take this like this is serious work. Like people get to this comment right here. I appreciate you, April. I appreciate you. I really appreciate you. And this anxiety gatekeeper. Yes, Ricky. Most adults who present with who get diagnosed with ADHD, a lot of times they present with anxiety and/or depression. Right. That's why the only people that can really figure out what's going on are people who are your licensed professionals who can take an hour or many hours to really just sit and talk to you and figure out what's going on. And can somebody it's time for the magic word, and then we'll get back to the third tip, and I'll get to some questions. Supplements. Ginger, I thought about this, but actually, we can do a segment that we talk about what really helps our ADHD. But at the top of the list, I'll just tell you right now, from what I know, at the top of the list, it's medications, the ones that we have, exercise, sleep, and getting healthy food choices. Like those four things reign supreme over, in my opinion, like everything else, right? But there is evidence, with things like omega-3. There's certain things that can be helpful. So I see what you're saying. So I do want to have a segment about this. So really good comment here. Cheers. Time for the water break. Eric, anytime. Appreciate you, my guy. Water break. Yeah. Cheers. Cheers. Big cheers. Big cheers. All right, y'all. Time for the water break. It's my first time drinking water from the jug that Kendra sent me. So I cheated. I put the water in now, but I'm at the feeling awesome stage right now. So we'll see how much I can get in. Big cheers, y'all. And I know I drink like a 4-year-old, so I hold it with two hands. I know. Woo! I need that. I forgot. Jennifer, sometimes it's like that, but hey, Jennifer, go ahead if you're watching your phone. Make something, throw some eggs, or boil something. Get something to eat. Get something to eat. Thought my screen from. No, I was just drinking. And let me get the third tip in, and then let me answer the questions. Right. So for those people who are trying to stay sober, get sober, and stay sober, the third tip, and I'm going to go backwards and get you all's questions. Find something to be proud of every single day. Right. Every single day, you have to find something to be proud of. Every single day, right? And that's why when you wake up in the morning and you make your bed, even if you go throughout the day and you forgot your keys, you forgot your wallet, you were all over the place, and maybe like the person earlier, you were trying to stop smoking weed, but then you smoked again or whatever. You can still be proud of the fact that you made your bed, right? You have to find something small to be proud of every single day, right? Life, like my cousin always says, life starts now. Like whatever you want to do in life, the time is now. We can't wait around for anything, right? So every single day we have to make the days count, right? We don't have to just let the days go by. Let's make the days count. So even if you're in a funk right now, find something to be proud of, right? Like if you're in a depressive funk and you can't get out of bed, right? But for some reason you're able to go outside and get the mail, right? And then maybe you did something small. Write down in the journal, hey, I went outside and I got the mail. I'm proud of myself. Or if you're super anxious and you haven't left the house in 2 weeks and you drove to the post office, I went to the post office today and I was able to do one or two things. I'm proud of myself, right? You have to find something to be proud of every single day. Because if you like, the way we talk to ourselves is so important, and I used to love negativity, right? I used to like I would want like in high school, like I would want like a girl to break my heart so that I can become productive and all that. Nah, I don't want to do any of that. I just want to be proud of myself. I want to be kinder to myself. That's my goal moving forward, right? So if we can be kind to ourselves, it's going to help out with every single thing, right? It's going to help out if you're trying to stay sober. It's going to help out with ADHD. It's going to help out with depression. It's going to help out with anxiety. It's going to help out with trying to stop smoking. It's going to help out with everything, right? Because the way you talk to yourself is how you let people talk to you, right? If you talk to yourself and you say, "Oh, I'm dumb," whatever, when people tell you that you're dumb, that's what you told yourself. So you're like, "Okay, yeah, I'm dumb." But if somebody tells you that you're dumb, you shouldn't accept that. Like that's not somebody I want to hang around. Like if you say that, then those are fighting words. I'm not saying to fight, right? But those are fighting words, right? It's going to get you upset. So you have to put some space between you and that person, right? So the way you talk to yourself is so important. Ross says, this is probably the hardest thing to do. I'm very critical of myself, although I know I'm doing well. Thanks for the suggestion. I'll attempt to do this more. Ross, I'm right there with you, and that's why I've made an intentional effort to redefine productivity, right? Like being productive is no longer doing 12 things in a day. If I did 2 or 3 important things, then I'm proud of myself, right? And as I say here, like moderators know, like I still haven't done my card tag, but I've done 2 or 3 things that I was behind on today, so I'm proud of that. Tomorrow, like you can't. Rome wasn't built in a day. Every single day, we get closer to knocking off things, right? So you have to be proud of yourself, right? So it's very important to do that. It's hard when you want other people to be proud of small tasks because they don't know it took everything in you to do them. So Megan, I completely agree, and I completely agree. And I used to really take it personally, right? Maybe it's my ADHD or whatever, but I would take it personally when I would do something and nobody saw like how, like they didn't see the effort that I put in, right? So to wait for somebody to give you a bravo and to clap for you, that may never come depending on who you're around and who's there, right? So it's important to always be proud of yourself. And then, of course, like I said earlier in the live stream, find somebody who is on the same path as you, who supports you, because you do need other people's, not validation, but sometimes you have to hear from other people, right? So until then, do your best to be proud of yourself. It can be hard. Gratitude lists and affirmations were revolutionary for me. Yeah. And like Lauren, just like the Snoop Dogg song, when you put it in a catchy song, you'll go back and listen to it. And these are all reminders of like the fact that, oh, like I'm not like a lazy pig, right? Like the things we say to ourselves when we don't get things done, you call yourself a lazy pig, I'm unproductive. We don't have to talk like you would never call your friend a lazy pig, right? So you shouldn't call yourself that, you know? I went through a depressive episode and worked at 4 instead of 2, but at least I got myself together and went right. And that that I crack myself up sometimes. That was your small win of the day, right? And you should be proud of that because it's very easy to not show up to work at all, right? But you went to work, you got there late, but you still got to work, right? That took everything out of you, right? When you feel good and you're not depressed, and you get to work 10 minutes early, right? You got to work, but I'm sure you're more proud of what you did today as opposed to when you feel good, right? Hello from South Carolina. Thanks for sharing your story. I'm here for my son who's 21. He's an awesome young man. So proud of him and how he has embraced having ADHD. Well, Kim, I'm very proud of your son too. I'm very proud of your son. And like once again with ADHD, this thing doesn't go away. You know, for the most part, it doesn't go away. At some point, people thought that it's you have it for childhood and then you grow out of it. But for the majority of people, it's not like that, right? So when you can embrace it and understand, all right, it's here, and I'm going to do the best I can. It's part of who you are, right? So you embrace it, you make the most of it, and you move forward. So I'm proud of him too. I draw what's going on. Mel detected in my backyard and interacted with a neighbor today. These are all big wins. Today I ate lunch at work around people without having a panic attack. And you better believe I told my support system. Proud moment for someone with an eating disorder. That's another small one right there. That's another love of the show. I just quickly Googled and said, don't drink. What'd you Google? Live or loss. Positive reinforcement from my girlfriend means the world to me. When I get compliments, big or small, it really does help. She's great and supportive and really understands and deals with my ADHD. So a love of the show to Ross's girlfriend right here. And I will say this here because it just came up in my mind. So for those of y'all in a relationship, I will say like when as guys, right? Or heterosexual guys, right? When we hear compliments from our women, it makes you feel like you can fly. So, Ross, you know what I'm talking about, right? When you're having a hard day and you get to work and you forgot your badge, so they gave you a name tag, and then you went to the grocery store and then you tried to check out, but then Apple Pay didn't work, and you didn't have your wallet, so you have to put the food back. You have to go home and then go get groceries again, and you come back home and you're drained and you feel like a failure. You feel like you're lazy and inefficient and you're no good, right? When you come home and your lady is like, you know what? I'm proud of you. You've done a good job, and don't worry about it. You're still a great person. Those words make you feel like you can fly, like you feel like you can take over the whole world, right? So and also vice versa, right? For guys or regardless of whoever your partner is, the words that we hear from our partner, it means a lot, right? It means a lot. So this a lot of people who have ADHD would love for their partners to understand them like this. And they don't have to do no grand gesture, just literally saying words with your mouth, like, hey, I'm proud of you. Like you said, big or small, it really helps. Especially on the days when some days you just need a compliment, some days you just need a hug, right? It's been 5 days since I decided not to smoke weed for my anxiety. I started working out for at least 20 minutes in the morning. And you should be proud of yourself, Frankie. Oh shoot, I'm behind on comments. My bad. Support systems and words of encouragement or affirming words from your loved one are the best. Healthy support. Yeah. It means the world. It means the world. It means the world. I mean, healthier and actually taking time to cook. These are all big wins. I Google cerebral exercise. I'm frustrated. So Ricky, it depends. I know people do DBT differently. I haven't done DBT, but I've sat in on a DBT class. It depends. I wouldn't be frustrated. I would be excited because you're making progress. That makes total sense. If you want to help someone get sober, tell them why you're. Oh, Colleen, I like this. I love the show right here. That makes total sense. If you want to help someone get sober, tell them why you're proud of them. Yeah. And I like this because it's easy to say, not that it's bad to say, I'm proud of you, right? I love you. I'm proud of you. I respect you. All those things sound good to hear. But when you tell somebody why you're proud of them or why you love them, hey, I'm proud of you because I know you forgot your badge today at work. And I know you ran out of gas and you had a hard day, but you still pushed on. Then that right there gives them the confidence to believe in themselves more. So I like this a lot. Always tell your cheerleaders when you're proud of something you've accomplished, especially when you're not used to. Yeah, I agree. And if you can find at least one cheerleader or one like legitimate friend, someone who supports you, and you can tell them these things, it goes a long way. You don't need a million people. You just need a couple. If you have one solid friend, I would say you're in a good position. You're in a really good position. Really good position. How do I stay sober at 10, 12, 7 and do the work? I use NA mocktails. Realize I'm not perfect. And if I fall twice, I make sure to get. I love this. I love this show right here. And the thing I like here the most is the last part. If I fall twice, I make sure I get up 3 times. Sometimes you have a lot of anxiety around relapsing, right? Or sometimes even feeling bad about who you are once you relapse, right? You think that, oh, I let myself down, I let my family down, and it's so easy after you fall down to stay there. It's super easy to just stay there for a while and just be like, oh, I can't get anything right, and I don't know. But before you do that, I want you to tell yourself, remind yourself of all the reasons why you decided to become sober in the first place, and give yourself grace to mess up, right? We're not perfect. You're gonna mess up, right? Maybe not with your sobriety, but you're gonna mess up in life in general, right? So if you happen to mess up and relapse twice, get up 3 times. You do it 5 times, get up 6 times, right? If you have that resilient spirit, then you're not even looking at the obstacle anymore. You're more so like, all right, this happens, that's fine, but I'm looking beyond it. Chad, I see your question. I'm gonna get to it in just a second. I've been out in nature the last 3 days on the banks of creeks to rock hounds for. How you pronounce that word? I can't say that like. Being, I don't know what that is. Being outside and being near water and listening to the water was healing and calming. It breathed life back into me as seasonal affective disorder was really kicking my butt the first half of the month. We walked just about 2 miles each day the last 3 days. Nature and seriously being near by water is extremely healing. I completely agree with this. And this year, at least for those of us here in Los Angeles, it rained today. It rained like half of the month. We never get rain in California, but it rained almost all month. New Year's Eve, I stayed in the house. Not that I want to go out anyway, but it was just pouring rain, and it just had this like the energy was just down, right? But I would still go outside to try and give myself that nature, and even if it's like muddy outside. So going outside does a lot for you. And I'll go back down in a second. Being in the military, surrounded by alcohol all the time, come out of PTSD. What would your tip be for trying to get help on? Ooh, Chad, good question. Good question. My God, Chad, I haven't seen you in a long time though, but I see you looking happy with your girl. I'm happy to hear from you. But really good question right here, and this is really difficult because you're in an environment where I think Judy mentioned earlier that she uses mocktails. I love mocktails too because you go to an event and you can drink a mocktail and nobody can tell if it's tequila or if it's like lemon juice or whatever, right? So I love mocktails, but when you're in the military and you're surrounded by alcohol, right? Sometimes if somebody comes up to you and they're like, "Hey, get you a drink, man, get you a drink," and you're like, "No," people are like, "Oh, you don't drink?" Like, I get it. You don't want to make a scene, and it's easier to just drink and then let them leave you alone and just do your thing, right? So this is where I would say it's very helpful to put those boundaries in place, right? And if you have if you have one friend who's on the same path as you, it goes a long way. Maybe one more military buddy or somebody who is taking a break from alcohol or just not really drinking at the moment. But this is where boundaries become so important, right? Because all of your guys, and girls who are your friends in the military, if you tell them, "Hey, I'm not drinking alcohol right now, I'm just taking a break," if they don't respect that, I would question if they're a friend or not, right? Like a true friend will respect your boundary, right? And especially you talk about PTSD too, right? So when you have mental health issues on top of trying to become sober, it makes it twice as hard. I'm not gonna lie, it makes it twice as hard. But on the good side, it makes it twice as gratifying. Like when you celebrate twice as hard because you know what you have to go through to get to where you're at, right? So for the time being, do your best in that environment, put some boundaries in place. But like I don't know if you're active duty now. I remember hanging out with you when we're back at the house in Orange County. But I don't know if you're active duty now or not. But if you're able to have like let's say you're on a military base, right? But you're able to go out and have other things that you do, like Ross was saying that he plays hockey with the guys, right? If you can go out and do other things, you may want to put yourself in different environments, right? Because regardless of what I'm telling you, if you're in that same environment every day where people are always drinking, and that's what they do, it's going to be very hard to be sober. I heard a quote that says, if you hang around the barbershop long enough, you'll get a haircut, right? So if you can switch up your environment a little bit, small changes will go a long way, but doing your best to switch up your environment a little bit will help out a little bit. Libby, Mrs. Davison, how are you doing? This is Koda from California saying, hey, Libby's mom. I hope you're doing good. You raised a good daughter. She didn't tell me this, to tell you that, but you raised a fantastic daughter. Karina, what's going on? How are you doing? That's tough. I'm a veteran and being CE. What CE mean? I'm not sure what that means. It was completely the culture of work hard, play harder. I see people ruin the career off of 3 beers within 2 hours. Yeah. It's if you're in the military or if you're in an environment where there's drinks everywhere, it can be very difficult. It can be very difficult. So should you mess up or whatever, please don't be hard on yourself because it's really hard. It's hard if you're not in the military or if you're not around the substance. But when it's around you, it's in your face, it's super hard. Super hard. It's Riley now. Oh, my bad. What's up, Riley? How you doing? Let me read this from here. We just went through dry January. I learned a lot of recipes from mocktails. Agree with if friends don't respect that, but you can also say I'm on medication that will allow me to drink. I'm taking antibiotics. Oh, so I've actually heard of so Julie, this is funny because I've had friends who have wanted to stop drinking, but they weren't able to stop until they got on meds that wouldn't allow them to drink. And interestingly enough, they were able to kick the habit off once they could no longer do it, but yeah, a lot of people have been doing dry January, and I'm just excited to see it, right? Whether you did it or not, just the fact that you want to take steps to make your life better. And I'm not saying alcohol is a bad thing. It's legal for a reason. Super Bowl is going to be here in 2 weeks, and you're going to see all these Budweiser commercials, right? But it depends on if it's okay for us or if it's not okay for us. Civil engineering, gotcha. I was like, CE. I was trying to figure that out. I'm talking to you, Mrs. Davison. I hope you're having a fantastic day. Thank you, Kurt. I love that advice. I appreciate the words of the community. Hey, Chad, I appreciate you, my guy. And I'm so happy to see you too. It's been a minute. Riley. My day's been good. It's been good. I did a couple of things that I had to do today, and I still got a few more things to do for my mom, and so on and so forth. But it's been a pretty good day. Tell the bartender to make. All right, so you know what? I like Christina's advice right here. And let's say, actually, somebody might benefit from this. Let's say you like to go to the bar with your friends, right? And when you go to the bar with your friends, right, it's a social event. So you like being around the guys, the girls, or whoever, right? That's just what you like doing. You could confide in a certain bartender and tell them, hey, whenever you make my drink, make a virgin drink on the down low. Give me some lemonade mixed with Sprite, and some ice, and put the little leaf on it, right? The little leaf that they put with the alcoholic drinks. Y'all know what I'm talking about. I don't know what the word is, but you could just tell a bartender to do that for you, and then you can sit there and you can be drinking with your friends, right? And you're drinking lemonade and Sprite or whatever, and they're drinking whatever they're drinking. So that way you can still hang out with them. Of course, you're not getting drunk, but if you're drinking lemonade and Sprite, you're not trying to get drunk, right? But you're trying to have that camaraderie around being with those people. So this is another idea right here. I'm even getting a video idea from it. It's not bad, Christina. Not bad at all. I quit drinking energy drinks. We help ADHD a lot. Oh wow. I used to love Red Bull too, and it wasn't good for me, so much of it. I'm connected to my family for 10 years. It's been rough and turbulent over the years, but yesterday they praised me for how well I raised my daughter and how they can't wait to see me and my daughters in the home again. That step took so much pressure off my chest and heart. I'm still struggling, but I'm better than I was before this reconnect. Brittany, love the show to your family. And this is why it's so important to tell people, like, when you're proud of them. You never know who needs to hear that. And sometimes people just need us to just, encourage them a little bit. And then you feel like you can fly, right? So words go a long way. like the comments, somebody saying that my content helped them get professional help. That makes me feel really good. I really appreciate that. Yeah, Riley, let me hear your question. Let me hear your question. Uh, Ricky, I appreciate you. And I appreciate this community as well. You know, it's good to have people all over the internet who have a certain goal in mind, and they have like-minded desires, right? Because if I go out here in LA, I mean, I'm sure I'll find people, like this, but such a big city. What's the chances I'm going to meet 47 people who all have the same goals in mind, right? Or, the millions of people who are following, how you pinpoint between ADHD versus anxiety? How does providers separate the two? Sometimes you don't, because sometimes both of them pop up at the same time, right? But with ADHD, with ADHD, you have the impairments with ADHD, like the lack of focus or the hyperactivity or the impulsivity. It impairs your life to a point where it's significant enough that it's a problem, right? And with anxiety is the most common mental health condition. So, uh, probably the majority of the patients that I had who have ADHD also have anxiety too. So it's very rare that you just have somebody with just ADHD. Normally, it comes with other things, right? So it's really hard to pinpoint it too. But that's what you have to talk to the patient. For me, like a psych eval, at least for an hour, and go through every single thing, and then I'm looking for ADHD, anxiety, and sometimes after talking to somebody for 5 minutes, I'm like, all right, they have ADHD, or I strongly suspect that they have ADHD, and I can definitely tell that they're anxious. And by the time that the interview's over, I've updated the diagnosis in my head to like ADHD and PTSD, because the PTSD, is the anxiety is at the point where like I'm like, this might be PTSD, right? So the only real way to know is to have a psychiatric evaluation, because more often than not, like from what I've seen, I see these two come together at the same time. Um, my first actual psych appointment in October was only after watching a few videos and realized, thank you for continuing to post. Jennifer, I appreciate you. I'm gonna keep posting, I'm busy, but I'm still gonna keep posting. I'm still gonna keep posting. And Riley, one second, let me get to your thing. Yeah. But it's because the Red Bull tastes so good. The other day, true story, 2 weeks ago, I had Red Bull in the fridge. I don't know why I bought it, but I drank some Red Bull because I like the taste. And I was anxious for 3 hours. Like my heart was going fast, and I'm like, damn, I'll never do this again. As an ex-bartender, I did that sometimes when they weren't asking for virgin drinks. But Sarah, I like this. I like this. This is cool. Brittany, appreciate you as well. And so Riley, one second. But no, Ross, here on Facebook, I go live Mondays at 6 o'clock West Coast time, 9 o'clock a.m. East Coast time, and then Tuesdays at this time, right? 6 p.m. West Coast time, 9 p.m. East Coast time, and then Thursdays 6 p.m. West Coast time and 9 p.m. East Coast time. And then on TikTok, where I go live on TikTok is just it's sporadic. It's all over the place. All right, so Riley says, how do you help? I'll answer this question and then I gotta do something. All right, but let me answer this question. How do you help someone you met last week with? All right, so this is not on topic, but let me answer this question. So the first thing that I would say is you have to understand that Riley, you aren't their doctor or their therapist, right? So don't put that pressure on yourself that you have to solve their problem. If anything, any steps that you can take to help them get closer to professional help is going to be very helpful, right? But even though you're not their doctor or their therapist, you actually play a big role, right? What I would say is encourage this person, right? Like nobody wakes up, in my opinion, nobody wakes up and decides to self-harm, right? And there's different types of self-harm, right? Sometimes you can even call self-sabotage a form of self-harm, right? But if we're talking about traditional self-harm, right? Talk to that person and don't judge them, right? That's the first thing. Don't judge them. And the way you talk to them is important. Let's say they've done it today. You say, hey, I'm just checking on you. I know that this happened today. I care about you still. I don't, want you to keep doing this. And regardless of whatever you do, whatever behavior you do, I still love you and I care about you. And then what could be even more helpful to build that connection is if you've gone through something, right? And a difficult time, and you're able to tell them, you know what, I used to, like, for me, maybe I would say, oh, so when I was in grad school, I was struggling a lot, and I always suspected I had ADHD, and my mom was saying this, and then my grandma was saying this, and my girlfriend was saying this, and I was so overwhelmed, and I didn't know what to do. So I talked to a friend. True story. I talked to a friend who told me that he had ADHD, and his symptoms sound just like mine. So I booked an appointment with my primary care doctor, and then he tested me for ADHD, and he gave me meds that really helped me out. But before I did that, I was super scary, right? And if I tell that story to somebody, then they'll say, "Oh, wow, so this person, they're not just talking over me or talking at me. This person is really giving me some tips. They're sharing their own personal story, right? You can connect with somebody better that way, right? So once that person trusts you, you just met them last week, right? So you didn't know this person last year, but you just met them last week. So you care about the person, right? So you're telling them, hey, I just met you, but I've been through a couple of things myself, and when I went out and I got help, it made me feel so much better, right? When you say it like that, your words, they could be life-saving words if you think about it. Like your words are very important. Like you're not their therapist, but the impact that you have on them through the words and through your actions, right? Your actions have to line up with your words. Because if you say, I care about you, I want the best for you, but then if they show you whatever, if you look at it with disgust, like like, treat them with compassion, treat them the same way that you want them to treat you if you were going through like absolute hell, and I think that will go a long way. I really think that will go a long way. And that could push them to go get the help that they need, and maybe they may even stop on their own, right? But I think it can really push them to get the help that they need. Really good question. Let me get this. Lil, 1 second. I've told him I've also struggled. Oh, well, there you go. Perfect. As if you're reading my mind and maybe heard what I was saying. When you say that, then instead of, because sometimes when people struggle with self-harm or whatever they're going through, you almost feel like you're not a human anymore because nobody else is going through it. Like if you're the only person on the planet who does this, you're like, damn, like it's just me. But by you saying, hey, I've been through this as well, and I'm there for you, that should, it, not that it will, but it could help them feel a bit better, and also be proud of yourself for whatever help that you attempt to give them. Because sometimes we, as friends, we feel like we have to save our friends, or we're doing everything that we can to save them. Sometimes you just have to do the best that you can, right? So I think you're already, off on the right foot, and these are real conversations that I want to make content about, and I just hope not to get flagged by the system, or get like a violation, because there's no blueprint on how to talk about these things. So sometimes I do worry that they might strike the video down or something like that. But I think we should be talking. I wish teachers were talking about this in school. They were teaching us about all these planets and all kinds of stuff. All right. Also off topic, but what would your advice be to a family member, to someone who has recently been discharged from an inpatient facility? How can we support them, and what are things we should look out for to be concerned about? All right, good question. So first of all, I would say figure out who the person is and figure out what help that they need, right? And that could be just asking them, or just picking up on how they are, right? For the majority of folks, from what I've seen, when people leave a psychiatric facility, they don't want people to know that they came back from the psych hospital, right? In fact, most people, I've learned this through some training that I've done, but most folks would rather tell their boss that they got arrested, that they went to jail for the weekend, than to say that they went to a psych hospital. This is true. Most folks would rather say, oh, man, I got locked up and I couldn't get to anything, than to say that they went to a psych hospital. So when you realize that, you said there's a shame and there's a stigma that goes with being in a psych hospital. So protect that person and cover them, by saying that, hey, I'm here for you, and what doesn't have to be told to somebody else, you have to tell somebody else, right? So that's going to be helpful. Number two, also, when you leave a psych hospital, they're supposed to give you like instructions, right? And at least back in Virginia, what we would do is I would give them like a 7-day supply of medications, and then I'll give them a prescription for 30 days of meds, right? So they can go refill at their pharmacy. And then normally within like a week or so, they would have to go to an appointment with an aftercare provider, right? Like a CSB or somebody like that, so that they can keep getting mental health services on the outside. So I would say one of the most important things to do is to make sure that they keep up with their appointments, right? Like whatever appointments that they have to follow up with, that's extremely important because you don't want them to go back in the hospital, right? And also, depending on their condition, is like sometimes it's diagnosis specific here. Like if, let's say they're like I had a patient back in Virginia who anytime man, such a cool guy. I miss this guy. Such a cool guy. A really, really cool guy. Anytime he would get manic, one of the first things that would tip us off that he's getting manic is he starts to talk a little bit faster, right? But he loved jewelry. He loved jewelry. Like he would collect jewelry and rings, and like he also had like a couple of chains on, right? But when he was like at his healthiest, he would dress really nicely and maybe minimal jewelry, but whenever he would start to get manic, he would be dripped out like Lil Baby or Lil Wayne, like a rapper. He would have rings here, like 4 rings here, no 4 rings here, a couple extra chains on. Like he'd be dripped out, right? And for me, if I didn't know who he was, I'm like, oh, hey, I like your style, I like your swag. You got all this jewelry, it's cool. But he let us know that this is a sign that he might be getting manic again. So if we would see that, we just kind of check in. Your meds good, boom, boom, boom. So it's more important to be, preemptive and proactive. So if you can pick up on those things, and if you really know somebody, you kind of know, like, what are the signs, So I would say that, like, it might be specific to the person and what they're going through, but getting to know the person can be very helpful because that way you can pick up on things like that. I made boyfriend pay for the energy drinks. That's hilarious. And Ross says, I like the taste of Red Bull, but due to having ADHD, yeah, no, I could take a nap after. Yeah, I could too, or it could just make me anxious for no reason. Let me see. We hit hour. Oh, yeah. Let me see. Oh shoot, I gotta head off soon, but let's see if I can get some more comments real quick. See, I struggle with my mental health, but I'm still here. I believe everyone's here for a reason. Riley, I completely agree. And let me see. It makes sense. Cafe Rush. I don't like that type of water. I used to like it at one point. Let me see. All right. I wanted to your take. As I know, you have experience in working in the facility. I have a minor family member come home this week and just wants to know how to support her and be there as well for my parents as they have to be thick of it. So just the fact that if the person who's come back from the hospital has you and like one more person who is this concerned about her, that's gonna go a long way. So I'm already confident about her recovery just off the question you're asking, And one of the saddest things, and I'll ask you a question real quick. One of the saddest things that I used to see in the hospital is when I would, put in a lot of work, and it's not about me. If I'm at the hospital, it's not about me, it's about the patient. But sometimes I'll put in a lot of work to figure out what the right meds were for the patient, and I'll go all out. Like I'll go all out, and we would fix the patient, for lack of a better term. We would get them back on the right meds, and like they're doing great. And then as we're preparing to discharge them, and I'm asking like, all right, so who is your support system, and they don't have a big support system. Sometimes I start to get worried. I'm like, dang, like, sometimes people just need a little bit more support on the outside, and they would never come back to the hospital, or they wouldn't come back as often. But sometimes you have somebody who is smart and intelligent, and they know how to take their meds, but a lack of support, people just need people, right? You just need people. So just like, yeah, absolutely does. So just the fact that you're saying this, I'm like, all right, if every patient who left the psych hospital had like one Leilani in their home, I think I know it would make a difference. I've never prescribed that medication actually, or that version. I've never prescribed that medication. My legal team won't let me say I like certain meds and whatever. But I do have certain medications that like I prefer to prescribe, but I'm not supposed to be like this is better than that. Um, uh, uh, all right, so let me talk about this right here. So ADHD uh is definitely genetic. It's definitely genetic. So I keep that in mind whenever if I have kids. If I have an ADHD wife, I'm gonna prepare to have an ADHD son and daughter. Now that's a joke. There's a good chance that you could have ADHD and your partner could have ADHD, and you could have two kids and none of them could have ADHD, right? But it is a genetic condition, right? So there's always that chance that you could pass it on. Um, yes, I have it in my son. All right. So Sarah answered the question. Um, Riley, anytime. I just have to think. Okay, that's your preferred name. But I mean, we've had this back and forth, so I don't think I'm gonna forget it, Riley. But if I forget it, like just let me know. Being supportive when someone comes home and reassure them that they did a great thing, that there's no shame, you're proud of them. Yeah, like I said, people would rather say that they went to jail than to say that they went to a psych hospital. And I've worked at a jail before, and I don't want to go to jail. I worked at the county jail, and I do not want to go to jail. So the stigma is still there, and any work that we can do to get rid of it, I think it does make the difference. Oh yeah, I'll put that out. Today is Monday. My trash day is Wednesday, but I'll still put that out. And let me see this. Actually, let me screenshot this before the live ends. Calling I like this. Something for parents dealing with kids. Yeah, no, we should definitely do a segment about this. How to help with teen mental health. Yeah, and I feel like I don't know if it's because like I'm young or I'm getting older, but I look young. That I feel like I can connect with teenagers, but I think at some point I'm gonna get older, and I'll be too old to connect with teens. But I think a lot of times just real quick, teenagers sometimes feel like you're talking at them or instead of to them, having a conversation. So a lot of times teenagers have a hard time connecting with their parents and they'd rather connect with their friends or whoever. So sometimes just even coming to your teen on their level, that can be very reassuring, but we can definitely do a segment on that. Change my name out here tonight. Okay. And that's your LinkedIn I'm seeing. All right, y'all. I do have to get off and do a couple more things before the night's over. But this is a good stream. It felt like a Tuesday night, but it's a Monday night. So I'll be back on here tomorrow night once again. So until then, I will see you all next time. So Ross and Riley and Ajwa and Leilani and Kendra and everybody, I will see you all tomorrow night. Appreciate y'all.